enjoying the vibe here at Red Fort. But can I ask you a question before that? So, this fort was built by Shah Jahan and was the greatest fort of his time. But despite that, why is it that there are only 13 Mughal structures, not counting the gates? And we see a greater abundance of British barracks, the 3-storied ones, the 2-storied ones, etc. Let's explore it. Hi, I'm Sultan Bagchi, an avid history lover. Today I want to take you on a journey through one of the most pivotal moments of Indian history, one which marked the end of many dynasties and the beginning of a new civilization, the Mutiny of 1857, particularly in Delhi. Enjoyed the holiday we all got on 10th March. But can you imagine how the British troops and the ailing Mughal emperor celebrated their holiday 168 years ago? Let me be precise. Can you imagine how they celebrated that day during the mutiny of 1857? This map, as you see here, was used to charter the British throughout the city of Delhi. And moving downwards, we see the Red Fort. This was under the custody of Bahadur Shah Zafar. This road leads to Karnal towards the north, and this flat land, it was the cantonment where the British had set their infantry camp. Moving back here, this is called the Bridge of Boats, or the road which leads to Meerut. This time, the fort was under the custody of Bahadur Shah Zafar. The British needed a strategic location to attack the fort, and they found this, Hindu Rao's house. It was known as the Central Battery due to its proximity towards Shah Jahanabad. This allowed cannonballs and muskets to be fired at the fort's walls. Soon, they started to crumble. So, on 11th March, what really did happen? Well, the order was passed that George Anson and his forces will take an army and march towards Delhi. He began the march on Karnal, but unfortunately George Anson couldn't make it due to cholera and died in Karnal. He was later on joined by forces led from Meerut by Arcady Wilson, who is a key player in the revolt of 1857. They've met several skirmishes on the way, but finally they entered Delhi from the Rajghat gate. So, the successor of George Anson, which was Henry Barnard, joined Arcady Wilson and together went to Delhi Ridge, today we know as Kamla Nehru Ridge, where they captured a really strategic location, the House of Hindu Rao. This was a strategic location because of its proximity towards Shah Jahanabad. This allowed cannons to be fired at the wall anytime, day and night, and was closer to civil lines where the British had their infantry camp. But the building you see behind me is not what you think it is. It's not Hindu Rao's house. Instead, this is Zafar Mahal, built by Bahadur Shah Zafar, whose importance I will cover in a later video. So, after capturing Hindu Rao's house, Henry Barnard died. His successor Reed also died due to cholera. Now you can see that during this period, cholera was a huge problem. According to J.D. Macpherson, a soldier in the British Army, he described that the stench of cholera in some parts, especially Ajmeri Gate, where the camp was laid, was claimed to be unbearable. Nevertheless, since the passing away of Reed, Arcady Wilson was tasked with all the jobs and was promoted to major. After Wilson's promotion, he later on shifted to the second line of fortification, civil lines, to build Ludlow Castle. Why did he go to civil lines? It's because after the siege of 1803, many British bureaucrats shifted there. This was only half of the mutiny. I only explained what the Britishers did. But can you imagine what the Mughals did inside the fort? During the mutiny, what did Bahadur Shah Zafar do? Why is Kashmiri Gate as it is today? What is the role of Flagstaff Tower? What did John Nicholson do which made him a martyr? All of this will be covered in the second part of this series. Kashmiri Gate. This two-laned gate of Shah Jahanabad was one of the most important gates of its time. It was not because of the presence of the Mughal offices or buildings around here. It was because of the role it played during the revolt of 1857. Let us once again dive deeper into the topic and understand the great battle and its aftermath. Its chief engineer, Richard Baird Smith, charted a plan to invade the citadel of Shah Jahanabad. This, in my opinion, was one of the most scariest moments of the war. Nicholson divided 5 columns of infantry, cavalry, and soldiers to invade the gate. The first column, led by John Nicholson himself, entered via the Kashmiri Gate. They crossed the moat and flung the whole area with muskets and cannonballs, which led to its ruined state as you can see today. The second brigade entered via the Yamuna rivers, which that time was known as the water bastions. The third one took shelter in the Kudisa Bagh. It was a summer palace during the Mughal times and was waiting until the Kabul gate could be opened from the inside if column 1 and 2 succeeded. The fourth column entered through the suburbs of Kishanganj. However, the commander, Major Reed, was badly injured and thus the column was removed. The fifth column and the cavalry remained as backup in case anything goes wrong. John Nicholson, who I just mentioned some time back, he was a British brigadier and gladly assisted in the taking of Delhi. William Dalrymple has termed him as an imperial psychopath, but the Victorians had worshipped him a lot. He had received a Victoria's Cross in the battle. He was killed during the taking of Delhi and is now laid to rest in this cemetery. It was once a Mughal garden. Today it's known as Nicholson Cemetery, which is largely forgotten. Nicholson and his troops further edged towards the fort after the bombardment of Kashmiri Gate. By this time, the third column has already entered through the Kabul gate. But however, Nicholson got shot by a soldier carrying a musket rifle on his shoulder. Thus, he and his regiment took shelter at St. John's Church, which we just visited. Augury Wilson got rather scared and wished to call all the troops back, but a dying Nicholson threatened to shoot him if he had done so. Thus, Nicholson, a few days after the siege ended, he died due to his fatal injuries. Thus, he was now laid here. Look at the vulture staring at the sea of graves, an inevitable sign of war. Let us understand one thing: no matter who's fighting a war, how it was fought, why was it fought for, how nicely or how badly they fought. War is one of the worst things mankind can ever bring. It is the humane in man. And I believe that a war, it turns gardens into graves. It makes wives widows and children orphans. Without war, couldn't we find a better way to express peace without the need of fighting each other? At the end of the day, no matter what we are, no matter how different we are from each other, we're all human. If only we looked at each other through the eyes of peace. myself with you all. I'm a student of 7th grade, and while doing all this, while history is my passion, studies are important. And since my summer break is beginning soon, I will try and cover all the historical monuments of Delhi. Please feel free to give me your feedback and tell me how this can be better. And do tell me if I've made any mistake. After all, I'm still a learner, and I will try and correct it in the subsequent episodes. Thanks for your time.